Hey everybody. Did you doubt we were going to be here doing this? I don't blame you. Welcome to another Smoke and Mirrors. This episode is brought to you by uh, belly buttons. Belly buttons. It's how you keep your soul on the inside. Um, Also brought to you by caffeine. It's the stuff that makes coffee good. Uh, oh God. I have a guest here that makes me really, really, really unhappy about the fact that I have to say, and now here's a theme song. Here's a song. I'm singing it for you. Okay, that's all I'm doing today. It's terrible. I don't want to do that. Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Oh wait, no, I forgot. I'm supposed to say this other thing too now. Hey, if you happen to like what we're doing, is we're doing this and going through it. Do me a favor. Consider becoming a patron of the I don't know, let's go fast and loose with it and say arts at patreon.com backslash smoke and mirrors ccb. The C and the B are for comedy culture and bullshit. And now here they are, your invenerable and maybe insufferable host, godless Kareem Winda. All right, all right, you have no idea the level of cortisol and tension in my body right now, and we'll get into why in a second. You know why you're here. I know why I'm here. I hope you're here for Dom. I hope you're here for my guest. We're going to get into the guest in a second. If you're here just for the smoking of it, I'm sorry I'm late, and I'm sure you started without me, so don't worry about it. Oh, exercising healthy options every day. It's like a cookie for your lungs. Hey, welcome to Smoke and Mirrors. Guess what? Next week we're doing a thing. We're doing a thing that I'm calling my Super Smarties Week. Gonna have a bunch of Super Smarties here starting on Tuesday, the 7th of July. I will be here with Mark Cohen. He started saying Mark in the middle of his name so he doesn't get confused with Donald Trump's lawyer. And Michael is a professor of African American Studies at Berkeley. We're going to talk about some shit. We've known each other since we were very young people and since we attended university. So we'll talk about the moment. We'll talk about the age of Trump and what it means to be a Black Studies professor in white skin. Then on Wednesday the 8th, I will be here with Esperanza Turvalon Garrett. She is, in fact, the lead and principal in the We Count Oregon campaign and also director of Dancing Hearts Consulting. And we will talk about the place of Black folks in politics, Black folks in Oregon, all of the other places people think we aren't, and why we must count. This is going to be a continuation of our three-part series on the census. And then for Thursday, a week from today, going to be here with Linda Chavers. Linda Chavers is a lecturer, writer, an MS patient, a black woman, a what else do you need to know, really? We will be in conversation on Thursday, July 9. Uh, Again, talking super smarty people stuff. I don't know. I hear that's what people at Harvard do. So we're going to talk super smarty people stuff, I hope. And we'll see if I can keep up. I'm going to be fucking around with Ivy League motherfuckers. Um, I don't know what that means. I've had Ivy League clients in the past, and I will tell you that what I have learned, having gone to a public university, having had uncles who have taught and relatives who have taught both at private colleges and at community colleges, that what I think it means to be at an Ivy League is that you're going to pay quadruple what you need to for a very average, mediocre education. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing a thing. Maybe I'm missing something. Hopefully, Linda will be able to clear that up. Do you have a hot beverage? Mm, I have to. You know what it is. I don't want Rona stuck in my throat. And while it may or may not be a myth, and there are a lot of people arguing about whether or not masks are a myth, here's another thing. No one of these things alone is going to help it. right? It's like you don't get in your car and think only your airbags are going to save you, or just a seatbelt, or you like to have the lap belt, the shoulder belt, maybe an airbag on the door if you can get one. It's You want as much protection as possible, and so if you have a warm bevy, let it do what it does. Let it coat your throat and help you feel better. Um, I don't know. There's shit in the news and there's stuff in the world, and I don't really want to talk about it because I've been waiting to do this for weeks now. This person, I'm just gonna go there. This person who I'm gonna bring to you, who I'm excited to bring to you, is somebody who I have been excited to expose as many people to as possible. For as long as I've known them, quite frankly, I've known them since I believe, and we'll get into this. I don't know the answer to this. They were either in the late parts of their teenage or early parts of their 20s. I don't know. And the first time I saw Dom Jones perform, what was very clear to me is that whether she understood it or not, what she was doing was not the same as what everyone around her was, around what her peer and contemporary group were doing. There was a vision and a passion uh, that, in terms of her peers and contemporary group, I rarely saw. And when I say rare, it certainly showed up within her clique, and that was a rarefied click as well, right? It's something in the water in the bay. It's where the geniuses who are taking over the world come from right now. And I have been blessed to walk this planet with one of these geniuses once in a while, and I'm now happy to share that with you a bit. Please welcome Dom Jones. Welcome, Dom. What it
Hello,
do? What
how are
it do, my
you?
friend? I'm well. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, making it today?
Making it as we do.
I barely make it. So we tried to have you here last week, right? I tried to have you here last week,
Yeah.
and the Gremlins said no. We couldn't figure out the technological glitches, which is I thought I had fixed, and we were still figuring this out 5 minutes before we started doing this, which is why my butthole was very, very tight. Only 10 minutes ago. I am so glad that we're doing this. I am so glad to be able to
Me
see
too.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you so
me
much for
too.
being here. Thank you so much
Of
for
course,
being
thank you
here.
for having me.
Come on now. So, Dom, I know you as an artist who does 1,000 different kinds of things. And
That is true.
I've known you to be a musician, a writer, a singer, an
Yep.
MC. Is there any gift in that array that I am missing?
I mean, no, that's pretty much it. I dabble in some poetry as well.
Oh shit, what am I even thinking about? That's the very first thing I ever seen you
Yeah.
do. God damn it. And poetry. Dabble. Come on. All right. And poet. Absolutely. Absolutely. How did you come to the arts?
Church. I sung my first solo in church when I was 5 years old. It was Quincy Jones's "Tomorrow" by Tevin Campbell, and I stood. I loved that song, and I was 5 years old, and I sung my little 5-year-old heart out in church.
I'll bet you did. I'll
And
bet you did. What church did you go to?
I forget the name of it. It was in East Oakland
Okay.
somewhere, but I grew up in church and was always in a choir, was always somewhere singing. So
Uh-huh.
that's how I came to it. Just being surrounded by all these heavy church voices and wanting to
Yeah.
add mine to the chorus.
Well, more than the chorus. If you was trying to do Tevin Campbell at 5, you talking about that's more than a solo. That's the song, right? That, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just you.
Yeah.
So what was happening right at 5? Was it like the music? Was it the idea of people clapping for you? Was it like what was going on that you were like, yo, I want some of that. I want to do that too.
Well, my mom was the Sunshine Band organizer, so that's like the children's choir. And she would pick kids to sing lead when we would sing songs. But she never
Okay.
wanted to seem like she was playing favorites, so she would never pick me or any of my sisters to sing lead. I have four
Boo.
older sisters. Um, and at some point, I was like, I want to sing lead. Like, this isn't
Okay.
fair. Just because I'm your kid, that doesn't mean I don't get to sing lead. And so, I just also would sing around the house. And I think
Yeah.
when that song came out, like when I hear a song I like, I'll sing it over and over, much to my family's chagrin. I will sing the song. My first cassette tape that I ever bought for myself was "Creep" by TLC, and it had the instrumental on the B side. And so I would belt "Creep" and then flip it to the instrumental side and sing it alone, and then flip it and sing it with them, and then
That was
flip
like a
it.
singles tape, right? Like
Yeah, it
just
was
the
a
singles.
singles tape. Yep,
See, these
yep,
youngs don't know about that. These youngs don't know about that. Huh?
yep,
A song, eight, maybe two, and on the other side is simply nothing but one instrumental, and that's it. That's the whole tape.
yep.
Okay, so you got
So,
in it.
so just I think my mom saw that this was something that I was gravitating towards, and she always pushed us to be critical thinkers and you know, be really engaged with education. But whatever it was that she saw us being passionate about, she would push us up front for it.
Yeah.
Um, so she pushed me up front, and there I went.
There you went, indeed. So our one of our first interactions, right, that I recall, and maybe you have a different part of this as well, but was that has to do with your critical thinking, right, and your critical gaze, and your I think correctly focused supposition and holding male presenting or perceived people suspect when they start popping at you about what they would like to do for you. And so when we first started having conversation, I remember it was because I was trying to put you on the shows and I was trying to put you on records. And I was like, listen, I don't want nothing. I just want you to get up and like do your shit. You get your shine, whatever that means, however long, however short you want to do it, whatever it is, and just do it. And what do you think? And the way I don't know, I don't remember you wearing glasses then, but if you had been, you would have been looking at me over your glasses. Certainly, there was a lot of like, you want what now? Um, I really appreciate that level of critical thought in terms of how you are building what you are building. What was going on for you during that time, if you remember it all? Like, do you remember what was happening for you?
Yeah. So we did meet in my late teens, and I was
Okay,
coming out of the Youth Speaks ecosystem. I was just aging out of being a
okay.
youth poet, a youth slam poet.
Now, I
Um,
don't know if people know what it meant, right? Because your generation was the generation just beneath mine. So to be a youth slam poet who was recognized and the nationally recognized slam poet at the time, at
yeah,
that period, what year are we talking? We're talking like what 90
2005.
2005s? Okay.
Yeah,
So this is on the tails of. I need people to understand. I want to give some context for folks, okay? This is on the tails of Saul had already released Slam.
right,
Uh, the Brave New Voices project had already become national by this point.
right.
Uh, the crew with whom we were working were not only recognized, but I'm gonna say, and I say this humbly, because if anything, I'm affiliated. Uh, were recognized and sought after, right? As
Right.
the hot motherfuckers on the planet, if we're honest at this point,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
is on the tails of like Russell is sniffing around doing that poetry
Right.
jam,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Most is coming around the bay kind of on a regular basis. Sol is kind
Yep.
of around, like we know who people
Mhm.
are. And Danny Hock, I think, was around quite a bit at that time as well, coming out from the East Coast and representing a lot of the same thing, right? Basically, we were rebuilding a lot of what had been done at the New Eureka Cafe
Right.
across the Bay Area. Does that
Right.
feel?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Okay. Okay. So that's where you were just coming out of that.
Yeah. And
And
I
so what was happening then?
think I was learning, and I had started learning some important lessons um,
Like what?
during from being involved in that You Speaks ecosystem.
Mm,
I learned about what labor meant and
mm.
what should accompany labor. Um,
Oh, you mean
and I,
exploitative labor, perhaps, maybe.
yeah, I mean,
Not for
and,
you. Not that it would have happened to you or anyone that we love would have done it. Just perhaps theoretically, what it is to have been exploited for labor might be a lesson you could have learned second, third hand, even.
right, and then like the way that the difference between the talent and the decision maker. Um, I was learning those hard lessons, and I was also learning about being blackballed, as it were, since my entire group of peers with whom I won the National Poetry Slam at the Apollo with in 2005, we were all invited to Deaf Poetry Jam, but because I was making different requests based on being asked to do this labor and being asked as a talent to travel and to represent, I was replaced at the last minute and never appeared on the show. So I was learning some tough lessons at that time. I think that also as a woman, I was called arrogant um, because I was asking for what I felt I deserved. And I was, kind of told to humble myself and to pay my dues. And um, even though I was young, I still felt like you've only known me since I was 16. I've been paying dues since that 5-year old
Right.
solo in church. I've entered your space for the past maybe couple years, but there's a ton of pre work that has predated your awareness of me.
Yeah.
Um, so that's where the kind of skepticism was coming from, because I was realizing that there are these systems that are in place to take advantage of young people who aren't aware of their worth, who aren't aware of the nonprofit industrial complex and the fact that
Mm.
we're performing for multi-million-dollar nonprofits who are crying poor when we're asking for gas money to get to the performance. Um, so, tough lessons.
Bloop. Yeah. No, I mean that's real, right? That's really real. And look, fuck it. You said open book, whatever. Look, there's no way. I knew I had to earn that trust with you. I knew I had to earn that trust with you, right? I don't know who burnt you. I don't know what happened. I don't know the particulars. We don't need to talk about the shit.
Yeah.
You can if you want. Your choice. I don't give a shit. But I knew that whoever it was, that it's somebody in my clique, right? It's got to be. So there's no way that like why would you trust me? The fuck and I don't know. It's there's something about I was running into this recently too, not just with the arts, with music, whatever, just with the development of the movement, right? And this moment where there was this assumption around how one should work collaboratively or in collaboration with young folks, right? Uh, and while it is a good idea, I think, and it's worthwhile to see folks who have ideas about centering the young, centering the impacted, and carry that banner and fly that flag and say the words, that it is a very different thing to work with young folks or folks younger than yourself in that exploitative manner of like, okay, if I get you up, how does that put me up, right? If I put you on, how am I going to get my shine? As opposed to working in deference with young people, right?
Right.
And in deference to young people, your genius, your leadership, and saying, which I hope I've been able to remain consistent to in other cases as well. Hey, I'm not trying to direct you to do anything. I want to know what you want to do, and then I want to give you the space to
Right.
do it, and then I want to give you a
Right.
platform to do it on.
Right.
Now we're done. The obligation's over. We've done it now. We're that's it. That's it.
Yep.
Because for me, what that means is that I'm then able to hear what's really going on in the conversations of folks younger than me, and I'm trusted by people who then serve as my cultural guide, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Treat You Nice was that. We've spoken about it openly. My group, Company of Prophets at the time, we we were not cool prior to Dominic being part of that group. We were seen as a lot of things. Cool is not one of those. And it was a very Run DMC relationship, to be real, in terms of no. The style point was adopted from Dominic. The aesthetic was something that Treat You Nice put us onto because he understood what was going on in terms of what young people wanted to see, what they wanted to hear,
Yeah.
right? You say all the messages you want, but you better have some hooks that's fun to say, and the beats better start slapping because nobody want to hear your little poetry raps no more. We're done with that, right? That it wasn't a lesson I was ready for, but it really does require working in deference to young people, and I don't think that many folk, especially new adults, uh, which I would define as anybody in their 30s, quite frankly, is
Right.
prepared, right, to do that because they feel like they're supposed to somehow be the keeper of knowledge or the keeper of
Mhm.
power or position or whatever the fuck.
Right.
So I just appreciate that after the seventh or eighth try, you were willing to trust me a little bit. I really, really, really do. It's continued to mean the world to me. So thank
Yeah,
you.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I saw some hard shit, yo. I saw some hard shit. Do you do? Mm, I'm gonna ask. I'll just refer to it as the incident, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Do we talk about that, or do we not?
Yeah. Yes.
Do we? Okay, because I
Yeah.
quit. That was it for me. I was
That
done. I was done trying to be famous at that. And
that
and and
that night
you can
was
talk more to it, but it was horrifying
that night
on so many
was
levels.
one of the one of the toughest and most heartbreaking nights of my time as a young person in the Bay. It was a lesson on many levels for me because I was taking a leap out as an entrepreneur, as a young entrepreneur. Um, I was taking a leap out as a woman in leadership, as a curator of performance and arts events. I'm
Okay, so
working in,
so talk to me. What were you doing? What were you doing? What was the thing that you were setting up? Tell me what you set up
I
that night.
was I
What did you? What were
was
we? What
running
was I witnessing?
I was running a performance series at La Pena. cultural center in Berkeley called The Function, and we were sourcing young artists to put on shows every other month. At that time, that was the frequency, every other month at La Pena. We had come to them with a proposal. We had pitched the idea to them. We had also talked to them about our backgrounds. I was working with another young person on this. I'll say that kindly because I was mostly doing the work. But um, about our
Listen, and let's just say this. Let's just say this. If there's a sister in your group, let's facts is facts. They doing the work. They the
yeah,
ones doing the work. And you know what I'm saying? There's a reason that Missy is Missy and Timberland's Timberland. The sisters is the ones doing the work, period.
yeah.
So I said it, you didn't say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we set up this entrepreneurial endeavor with La Pena, and it was my
Hmm.
first one out of the
Hmm.
gate, like solo, not affiliated with any youth organization in the Bay. This is my thing.
I was so
Um,
excited. I was so, did you know I was there?
yeah, I knew you were there. I saw, like, I remember that night vividly. So that the night of the incident was our third. It was our second or third in the series.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
first one had gone off without a hitch. The second one had grown even bigger. We had gotten more folks to come out. So this third one, we
Right.
were super excited
Yeah.
because we were like, we're on a roll. We're going. We're building this youth culture. It's by
I was
young
so
folks
geeked.
for
I was
young
so geeked
folks.
for y'all. I was so geeked for y'all.
And the week before the event, a couple things happened. Um, the person that I was working with got into a beef with a young and up and coming and well known poet, and I use the term loosely rapper um, from the Bay. He was more well known than us at that time, and also he had been known as my mentor at that point. I had interned for him. I had
Hmm.
worked as his assistant, and he was uplifted in the community as a pillar of Oakland.
Why men great till they ever
And
be great.
so a beef happened because he didn't pay the person I was working with for the production work
Mm.
that he
Mm.
had done. And so that
Mm.
person at the time was like, okay, you're not going to pay me. I'm going to write. The producer was also a rapper and a good one. So he was like, I'm going to make a diss track about this person. And we're in the MySpace days. So
I didn't know that piece.
yeah, we're in the
I
MySpace
didn't know that
days.
piece.
So
That's funny.
we're in the studio. He's making this diss track, and because I know so much personal information, he's like, "Dom, do you want to hop on this diss track?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it. I'm tired of this guy." Because as his intern and as his assistant, I had seen all the ugliness in the background. Everyone's
Yeah.
uplifting this person as a pillar in the community, but I had seen all the nastiness, and I was kind of
You do,
tired of it.
and you're doing very well, and you're doing very well politically. Just so folks know, there is going to be a reveal at the end because I'm a rat. But you keep going, keep going, keep going.
And so I got on the track, even like less trying to, flow technically. I'm just trying to
Mm.
reveal stuff. I'm like, I'm airing it all out on this track.
Mm.
And so I'm airing out, that this person has messed with underage girls in the community. I'm airing out that this person is a womanizer. I'm airing out that this person has continuously taken advantage of young people using the nonprofits he's worked for to meet these young people. I'm airing it all out. And the song
Mm.
goes up on MySpace. And then the world implodes
Mm.
because the Bay is messy and people are on MySpace at the time. So people are hearing the song.
Yeah.
And then the phone starts ringing. Um, and we get a call from the security of this person who says,
Which in and of itself is the most ridiculous, arrogant, bullshitty thing in the world. And I'll wait for this person to have, or for anyone around to have had at that time. It's just silly. But then they're going to have their security person who, why, dog? Uh, call you. Okay.
so
All right. So
so
double
to be,
gross.
so
Keep
to
going.
be clear, we're 20, 21 years old at this time, and this is a
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least a 40-year-old grown man calling us
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah. Because the person you in question who would have had these folks around them would have been in their mid 30s, early 30s at the most.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, saying take the song down or someone's coming to see you. That's verbatim what was said. Take the song down or someone's coming to see you.
On some Suge Knight shit.
So we're like, this guy is like a community security person. Like this is a very strange response to be get. So I'm like, I say just take the song down. We got bigger fish to fry. We got a show coming up. I'm not dealing with like people have heard the song, so the damage has been done. Just take the song
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
The song gets taken down, and we think we're moving on without incident. The request has been granted. The song's been
Yeah.
taken down. So we go to our show, and I'm on
Now,
stage.
cut to I'm watching you on stage, right? I'm sitting here. I think this is the first time in my life that I've begun to be uncled up by people. Um, didn't love it, but fine. So uncle is in the audience. I'm like, okay, this is cool. On the heels of the contributions I had been able to make, which were on the heels of contributions other people had been able to make, and so watching the legacy moving on and watching it with Bay Area natives, watching it with you led, I was like, yo, this that shit, right? Y'all up, doing your thing. Now, here's where I get messy. Cause I'm watching you up there, I'm watching Will up there. I'm like, yo, okay, here we go. Then, as an audience member, I start seeing the African flags coming through the shits, coming through the audience, right? And here I go going, oh shit, my people's getting creative. Okay. What we about to do? What we about to do? Then motherfuckers jump up on stage. Boom, 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 boom. Oh shit. What they doing? What they doing? Then what? Ice life. Oh shit. What's it gonna be? Then, please, tell
Then
me what
I'm
happens.
surrounded on stage by 8 to 10 grown men. The the
About
microphone is snatched out of my hands. Um,
by
and
said mentor, by said former mentor. I want to
yeah,
be clear. I'm the rat. I'm the rat. I said it.
yeah.
Ice Life snatched a microphone out of Dom's hand with 8 thugs around them and scared the shit out of the suburban DJ who was there doing the wiki.
I
That
forgot that
boy,
it was Luke. It was
that was
Luke.
Cool Hand Luke. That was Cool Hand Luke.
Yes.
I ain't never seen somebody look that scared. He wasn't ready for East Oakland like that. That
Yeah.
boy was just like, then what?
Cause says Dom Jones is a disgrace and starts to go on a rant. His thugs have unplugged the DJ equipment, so the music cannot continue. And then my friends start jumping on stage because it's like, wait a second, you're not going to surround this woman on stage
Listen,
and you know. this is my show. So my crew jumps on stage, mayhem kind of ensues, and then
Now that was the point that Uncle was like, "Bing, okay, I gotta go. This is my stop. I don't know this ain't a shit. Oh, that's not part of the. Okay, I gotta go. I don't know what's
yeah.
happening here. Yeah,
So someone said, so one of our performers who's a homie is like, "Nah, f this. I'm going to get my gun,"
mm,
and I'm like, "This can't. This can't escalate."
yeah,
So we try to move everything out of the venue outside. And we accomplish that. We get everybody outside.
mm,
And there's a bunch of arguing and yelling back and forth. And someone does come with a gun and people disperse.
mm,
At that point, the person that I'm running the event with has left because he's in fear for his safety, and I
hmm.
don't know where that person is. So I'm trying to find Will at that point because I'm like,
Right.
I don't know if somebody's grabbed him. I don't know what has happened.
Yeah,
So I tell the venue manager, I'll come back and settle up whatever we need to settle up, but let me just go take care and find him first, and
mm,
then I'll come back. So I find him. He's jumping over fences in Berkeley, like
mm,
running.
mm,
I find
mm.
him. I pick him up. We go back to the venue and settle up with the venue. And we go to my mom's house because she lived in Vallejo, so it's a little distance outside of Oakland.
Yeah,
Um, and Will tells me he's scared to go home because he like they know where he lives
yeah,
essentially. Um, so we spend the weekend um, in Sacramento because that was as far as we could think to go. Um, in Sacramento, strategizing about how to move forward from this, and I'm getting calls from community leaders who are saying, let's have a sit down, let's talk through this. We're going to facilitate something for you. I got a call specifically from a very revered woman in the community who said, I'm going to set up this sit down between you guys and ICE, and we're going to talk through this and work this out. That
yeah,
meeting never happened. Um, what happened is we came back and we attempted one more show in the series.
mm,
Um, and we were told that there was a campaign happening telling young folks specifically, but everybody in the community not to come to the show. Um, and so we were promoting the show. We had booked some folks who had been on Def Poetry Jam. We had, like, frankly, it was the bill should have had us selling out the venue.
yeah,
We showed up that night and the venue remained empty. Um, and so we went and talked to La Pena and asked them to let us out of the rest of the shows that we had agreed to do,
mm,
um, and that we would pay a penalty for that cancellation. Um, and I Will became a Will became a recluse after that. I can
yeah,
pinpoint that moment as the moment that he stopped going to shows. He stopped really
yeah,
coming outside. He stopped socializing. Um, I just took a step back and tried to reevaluate, like, what even does community mean,
mm,
and what does Bay Area community entail?
mm,
Because if it's this, I'm all set.
yeah,
Um, And so, you know, I personally felt that having several men in the community who consider themselves upstanding black men who advocated for the community surround me and threaten me and physically threaten me was not something that I ever wanted to be a part of again, and it wasn't the type of community. And this to this day has gone unchecked. It has gone unchecked by elders in the community who promised us then that something would be done, and this person has continued to be able to move kind of unchecked in the community since then. And that was a blemish on my time in the Bay, but it was also a lesson for me, and it was also a moment of me having to decide um, how I was going to move going forward. And I
Mm,
think that there was a certain level of openness and a certain level of just wild support that I had for people back then. I remember digging in the couch for change for toll fare to go see the Attic perform.
mm,
Like there was a level of commitment and support for this musical community that I was a part of that I had that
yeah.
night was completely lost. Um, and so I, as someone who's now an adult, who's now a mentor to young musicians, I think that night was important for me to be able to advocate for young people, for young artists, and to be able to check other people who would um, try to step incorrectly to young people in
Yeah.
any way, but specifically in that way. Um, but you know, it was a moment of great disappointment and loss because regardless of the beef that was had, I just never thought it would go that far. And who I thought that person was completely lost to me that night.
Yeah. No, I'll be real honest. I was going through a lot of other personal things at the time that certainly contributed to it, right? I lost a child, and was in the process of trying to find my footing. Some other people in the industry and around LA really got really funky with me around it. That was difficult. And then was at that show and watching Isaac do that. Oh, that's Ice's name. I'll say it. Do that was so out of pocket and wildly disappointing and fucked off in terms of any level of what any of the brand had been about for anybody, right? Like
Yeah,
that fucks up everything. Like, what are you doing right now? How are you
yeah,
supposed to be this dude who's down with the Attic, who's down with Company of Prophets, who's down with Zion I, who's down with Rico Pavon, and this is how you out here showing your ass? Like, what are you doing right now?
yeah,
What are you, with this fake ass Public Enemy bullshit? What is going on? What's
yeah,
with the flags? What are y'all doing? And I swear to God, and he was right, but the acting happening that night. I mean, it literally was like a Tupac Shakur fucking bishop thing that was just like, what are you doing right now?
yeah,
What is happening? What has gotten in your soul? You know, and and it's the thing of toxic masculinity, right?
right,
And I think only with time have I been able to understand more clearly what is happening in the soul of somebody who gets to that point of the only thing that had happened is that you got called out on the carpet for some shit you had done. That's
right,
it. There's no other beef. You did some shit, it got called out. There is no other funk. You said
right,
stop it. It was stopped. This should be a wrap, right? And
right,
and because men seem to have and I say men specifically because I do think that that is a moniker born of the binary and the patriarchy that very many male perceived and presenting people adhere to, and when they do, requires of them certain behaviors that are a result of a limitation of any range of communicative skill or emotional vulnerability,
Right.
right? Such that, oh, you've insulted me. That means I have three choices now. I can buy it, I can kill it, I can fuck it. So, which one am I going to do? And so you get these Kavanaugh esque bullshit ass pseudo thug responses that it's just like, what? Would you stop it, first of all? But second of all, if you're positioning yourself as this leader of the people and of a generation, then, you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, maybe you shouldn't be leading with your dick. Also, maybe that too. Also, maybe
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. I mean, I think I found through the years that followed that, um, my mom said something to me one day. She said, "You need to stop feeling like you need to be in these partnerships." Like she watched me try to
Mm,
always partner with somebody, and she was like, you don't need that.
fam,
Like
you
you
telling
don't
truths
need
right now. You telling
you
truths
don't
right now. Come on.
you don't need someone next to you all the time. Like you're fine. Like you can do it yourself.
Come
And
on.
so I think in the years that followed, it was a journey to, you know, people thought I was crazy when I started working at Salesforce and working in the tech industry. And I didn't really
Mm,
know what that time was about either when it first started.
yeah,
I didn't know what I was doing besides making a lot of money.
right.
Um, but it ended
Bet you
up
knew that,
being
though.
the
You knew that, though.
right. But it ended up being the conduit through which I was able to go to Berkeley and get my degree from the music school that I wanted to go to when I was 18. It was being in this large organization and learning how power works, how power really works, and how big organizations are built, and learning that I didn't want to work for Mark Benioff for the rest of my life. I
Mm,
wanted to be his peer,
mm,
and
mm,
thinking about the fact that I didn't want to be the talent. I wanted to be the decision maker. And
mm-hmm.
how do I honor my creative life and become a decision maker? What path do I need to take to be able to own that and own both roles, be a multi hyphenate and be a power player in those rooms, and build my own table and bring my people to the table of power that I've built? And so, when I talk about that night with Ice and all those guys, and when I talk about running that series at La Pena, I think that I knew but wasn't able to articulate that I always saw myself in a position of leadership, and I always saw myself
Mm,
putting people on and building something from the ground up
mm,
for folks,
mm,
in order for them to
mm,
realize whatever
mm,
they wanted to
mm,
realize
mm,
about
mm. Come
themselves.
on, come on,
So
come
I
on,
had to go through that night because I had to step into leadership and get knocked on my butt,
come on.
and I had to believe in myself enough to step away from these arbitrary partnerships
Mm,
and walk on my own. I had to move from a diverse city like the somewhere in the Bay to a homogenous city like Boston, Massachusetts, and go to
mm,
school there for 4 years
mm,
and become a respected artist in that space, but not compromise the artistic values that I had learned in the Bay. And I had to cut my teeth somewhere else.
yeah.
Um, and so, that night is an important night because I think you have to be broken to be built.
Mm,
And I think that's what that was. As inappropriate and as wrong as that night was, it still serves on the path that I'm on. It still serves me on the path that I'm on.
yeah.
And I still,
Absolutely.
look at it that way, and I can still look back and have, really at this point, I don't have any ill will towards anyone who was there that night because, you know, in the grand scheme of things, do they matter? Like,
Mm,
in the grand scheme of, am I going to be thinking about Ice Life when I win my seventh Grammy? No, like I'm not. So, you know, I can appreciate the moment for what it was, and I can keep it moving, and that's what
yeah,
I did.
yeah. Well, you did, right? So you graduated Berkeley School of Music. You did all this shit. Um, we've been talking a long time, and none of this was any of what I had thought we were going to talk about. And shared memories just work that way. But I do, we're late on that. We're late on that. About 15 years late on that conversation. So, very quickly, uh, uh, I would I the context of why I wanted to ask you about this is partly that, right? It's that patriarchy.
Yeah,
It's the patriarchy in music. The fact that you are so closely associated with the Grammys, which I love seeing you do. And is not a thing that when I was associated, I enjoyed much and I was not good at. So I love seeing you actually take care of business and be able to take care of business in that kind of a setting. Um, Within that framework, and amongst the reasons that for me it's very difficult to imagine being comfortable there. I was in the shower and my phone was not, my music was, and I had on my random plays, and I heard a beat that I liked quite a bit, and I was thinking, wow, this is really like 90s-y, and this is really hip hop, and what the fuck is this happening? And then I heard this flow. I was like, God damn, somebody's spitting. Then I was listening to some lyrics, and I realized, oh fuck, I'm listening to that J. Cole song that Black Twitter's been talking about. Oh no. Oh no. And I was trapped in the shower with soap in my eyes, and it was Dr. Bronner's, and I couldn't do anything. And I'm just burning and my soul is burning, and my ears are burning. And impressions?
I mean, I think that the first line of that song is "In words be thinking I'm deep, intelligent, fooled by my college degree." So, one, J. Cole has a college degree, but acknowledges that he's not deep or intelligent. And then if we go down further in the verse, he says, if I can make one more suggestion respectfully, I would say it's more effective to treat people like children. So two, um, people should not own their adulthood and should not activate maturity at any point in their life. They should be
Oh,
treated like children. Okay. And then if we go a little bit back up in the verse, he says, how you gonna lead when you attacking the very same N words that really do need the stuff you're saying? Instead of conveying you're holier, come help us get up to speed. And then we get back to labor, which I was talking about when we first started. Now he's
right.
asking a woman to do the emotional and intellectual labor of educating him on something that could have occurred while he was in college getting that degree that apparently he doesn't use. Um, so there's a couple problems here. You're tone policing. First of all, you're tone policing. You're saying I don't like the way you're saying this. I agree with what you're
Mm,
saying, but I just
mm,
I mean say it a little nicer. Can you
mm.
say it a little nicer?
And
Even
it's not that
though
he says it nicer. He just says for her to say it nicer. He takes
exactly,
a whole
I'm not gonna
song.
say it nicer. But can you?
I ain't gonna say none of the shit. I ain't gonna say none of what you just said. I'll just say you say that nicer. That would make sense. Sorry.
So here's the thing. In a moment where people are feeling so activated, so energized to use whatever platform they have, whether their role in this moment of change is out in the streets protesting, whether their moment is as an artist tweeting about the fact that they're having a moment of awakening, which is what I think No Name has been doing.
mm,
Um,
mm, mm,
Everyone's energized for change. In that moment, you choose that moment not to also call for change, not to use your platform to highlight some of the injustices, not to, you know, donate money or make a song about the fact that people are dying. People are dying either at the hands of the state, or people are dying at their own hands by not wearing a mask, or people are killing other people because they refuse to wear masks. Like, there's so much there for you to talk about, and you choose this moment
mm,
to attack someone who you agree with, who you admit you agree with, because you don't like the way that they said what they said. Because your patriarchy runs so deep that you need her tone to be a little higher and a little softer. That you need her to maybe wear an apron while she says it and be pulling a pan of cookies out of the oven. I mean, I don't understand. She's saying what you think she should be saying, but the aesthetic isn't quite right. I mean,
mm,
turn those decibels down a little bit. Like, take the bass out of your voice. Can we put a little more highs on that? Like,
mm.
I mean, I just it's such an arrogant moment, and it's such a tone deaf moment, and it's such a moment where that shows how disrespected black women constantly are. And in the space of hip hop, how black women continue to be disrespected. And you take the year that Rhapsody, who put out the best rap album of the year, is shut out of all the awards to attack another solid black woman rapper. I mean, instead of uplifting this group of incredible MCs, you take it as a moment to tear down. And in this moment where everyone's energized to build something, to destroy these systems that have been so that have negatively affected everybody. Whether
Come on,
they believe it or not, they've negatively affected even the people who have benefited from these systems,
come on.
because these systems are diseased. So you think you're benefiting, Jeff Bezos, you think you're a trillionaire, but what are you really accomplishing? Because you're a trillionaire in a world that's dying. You can't take it with you. In a world
Mm,
that you could solve homelessness, you could solve world hunger, you could solve, like, so these systems are destructive even to the people who benefit from them, and you're using this moment of change, this moment where we can dismantle these systems and build something new, to also
mm.
be destructive. Why? What did that do for you? Like, do you feel like a big man now? Like, what does it do? What does it do at all? And I think what I think it did do is, for me, render J. Cole wholly and irreparably irrelevant in the space of hip hop or otherwise. And I think what I saw it do is that people who didn't know about No Name know about her now and
Yeah,
went to go listen to her. And I think that her brief response was very appropriate. Like, I'm not going to waste the whole song responding to you.
yeah.
You can get this 90-second response. And then I'm going to get
Mm,
back to doing what I was doing, which is,
mm,
educating myself and bringing awareness to these issues that actually matter. Like, what's a rat beef while people are dying? Like,
mm.
what is that? So, I just think that in hip hop and in many spaces, we're seeing, that women need to be at the front. Clearly, women need to be at the front of the line now. Like, it's time out, and that's what's been so disappointing about, the election. Not that I believe in the electoral process at all, but it
Speak to it.
started
Speak to
out
it.
it started out with such a diverse group of candidates, and here we are again with two old white guys who are basically the same. Like, we can say, everybody's gonna, anybody who believes in anything correct is going to vote for Biden. You know, it's fine. But, that's just because the other alternative is like so overtly evil
Mm,
that, all right, a little bit less evil.
mm,
That's the alternative, a little bit less evil. But,
right.
watching how that spread started, that spread of Democratic candidates started, and watching it whittle down till it was, all right, now there's one less black person. All right, now all the black people are gone, but there's still women up there.
Yeah.
All right, all right, now there's one less woman. All right, now there's a woman, she's hanging on. There's still a woman left, she's hanging on. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nonsense, man. And I think in hip hop, women have always been the leaders. When you talk about Missy Elliott, when you talk about Queen Latifah, it's why we see them go off and build empires far beyond what they did in just hip hop. They affect culture in such a deep and expansive way, um, and they continue to affect culture. It's why Queen Latifah can win a Grammy for Best Jazz Album. I mean, it's why Missy Elliott can executive produce a documentary about the Clark sisters, the greatest gospel group in the history of music. I mean, these women are hip hop legends, no doubt, but they're so much more than that. And I think that someone like J. Cole will never know that kind of legacy because he's too worried about No Name's tone of voice.
Mm. Well, there it is. So, what you don't know, because I told you you wasn't going to know, and I'm telling you now because I want it to be clear, is that through most of that, you were on the screen by yourself, as it should be. Uh, I'm saying, because you were bringing it. You were bringing it. I didn't want to see me. I wanted to look at you. I wanted to look at you. I wanted to hear you. Um, as always, right? I have to stand in deference to what you have to say on it because of the specificity of the narrative that you're able to bring forth, right? To my ears, as somebody who does not find a great adherence to any sort of gender normativity yet, uh, can reap all of the unearned and undeserved benefits of maleness and of manhood. In particular, and I was saying this to somebody earlier today. It's like, look, I know what I look like. I know what I sound like. Okay, I, fine, fine. I get to be black man on a pulpit if somebody wants that to happen. That in and of itself, though, is gross. And if I get that opportunity, then to me, which goes back to the beginning of our relationship as well, right? That means that
Yeah.
I need to use that to try to take these platforms that I am then given, right, and elevate the voices that have taught me, and to me the idea one that that I would need to be the person to speak to the specificity of what was gross about what Cole did around womanness and womanhood specifically and the misogynoir that was displayed in it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but really that's not. Here's my thing of it is just that, like, bro, that's whack. That's just whack. That's whack. Like, it's all pretenzo then, right? Like, you little faking your sweatpants and your mismatch outfits and pretending like you just some kid off the block and like all this shit, which is why I had gotten into beef with my own contemporaries and peers in the past, right? When people come out talking out the side of their neck about like who they were or who they are, and it's like, dude, I know you were fucking pulling serious grades at a very prestigious school. Why are you talking sideways to these people
Right.
like you went to juvie too? Like that's not what it is.
Yeah.
That's like me saying I went to juvie too. Like, no, look at me. Wow, stop it.
Right.
No, no, and they can see through it anyway, right? There's no way somebody who up in there ain't gonna see what's going on. And
Yep.
there's no way women don't see what's going on with this kind of shit. It's so
Yep.
ugh. It was gross. I really was not. I never would have heard it. I'm glad I heard it because now I know for sure. But
Yeah.
damn.
Well, if you listen to his verse on the Rhapsody album, there is a moment where he says he's kind of, self reflecting on, being a supposed conscious rapper
Mm,
and being older, getting older and not necessarily doing what's popular in hip hop, and he says, "Where does that leave me? Irrelevant, I guess." And so I think that because
mm,
the verse on the Rhapsody album preceded this whole thing, and but I think that something that J. Cole has been probably grappling with is his impending irrelevance. And
mm,
I think that when that happens, there's a way that there's two ways you can address that. You can address it by, accepting the changing landscape and moving into a support position and trying to elevate new voices. It's what I've
mm.
always said about hip hop that it's the challenge that I've always said. It's like the cosign is so important, but it so rarely happens. And you
Yeah.
have an opportunity to extend your legacy by giving a cosign to a new voice and to a younger voice, to a voice
Mm,
that's more relevant to the times. And so you can extend your relevance by moving into a support position, or you can have a lashing out reaction
mm,
to your impending irrelevance. And I think that's what happened with J. Cole. I think that he lashed out because No Name is a new voice, and she's a voice
mm,
that's being embraced by the hip hop community, and she's a voice that's being embraced by men and women alike. She's a voice that is experiencing some of her lessons in public, but humbly
mhm,
so.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and I think that when you can experience your lessons in public with humility, then that
Yeah.
adds to the irrelevance. Um, and so, it's really unfortunate because we, what we thought we were getting from J. Cole, we now know we were never getting. And he can fade to black. Like, it just is what it is.
Mm,
Um, I don't think that social media being what it is, this is a blip on the radar. A new scandal has already popped up. People are already talking about something else,
right.
but
Relate. Yeah.
you know, but I think that blemish is there and it's gonna linger there. I don't know that. At least for me, there's nothing that can be said besides an out and out apology and an asking for forgiveness from the community and from No Name in particular, and a going away to do some learning. Like,
Yeah.
maybe he admittedly said he doesn't read as much, and so my thought to that was like, well, maybe put the mic down for a couple years and go
Get a couple
read.
books.
Go read the books that you skipped in college.
Yeah.
Um, and then maybe when you come back, maybe you'll have something to say. Maybe much less people will be listening, but maybe you'll be saying something that's more useful than what you're saying now.
Mm, mm. Appreciate it so much. Hey, I'm gonna have to talk to you again. There's so much more to talk about, and I could talk to you forever. And if anybody is still with us, we can't hold them captive forever. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before people drop off, I want to ask you. You have a new track. I want to ask you where we can listen to that, and if you can tell us about Dom Empire, where we can find out more about that, and how the people can find out more about you. Can you let us know more about that, please?
Yeah, so the new single is called Saying Nothing, apropos title for what we were just talking about. It's on all streaming services wherever you like to get your music. You can find it. Um, Dom Empire. You can reach me at iamdomjones.com and at iamdomjones on all the socials. If you want to follow the company page, that's on Instagram at dom underscore empire. Um, you know, I have more music coming. I have my second poetry book coming out, an EP coming out. There's a lot more coming. And so, just follow, stay tuned. Corona's not going to slow down creativity. Even though we
And
might not be able to meet in person, I still am going to have content coming. So just stay tuned.
love it, love it. Dom, thank you so much, family.
Thank you.
For
Thank
real.
you
This
so
is
much for having me.
oh, I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you. This has been a treat for me. This is catharsis for me. This is
For
catharsis
sure.
for me. Like I've said, I'm a rat, and I've been carrying realities and truths with me for a very long time, and then now my stories to tell. So I'm not going to be out here like just going there, but like I'm also not in any hurry to let the patriarchy continue unchecked. That's just it's not the game. So
Word.
uh, yeah, and thank you for holding me accountable through our relationship and through our friendship and our time creating together. And I hope there's more of it coming forward. It's been dope. It's been
Of
dope. Thank you.
course.
Thank
Definitely.
you. Right on. Okay, I'm supposed to press the next scene button. I know what I'm doing. I've done this before. Hey, now it's just you and me, people. How you doing? So that's Dom Jones. And we did talk. We have talked now for some time. Uh, when I tell y'all, and I don't say this word lightly. I don't say it jokingly. It is not some sort of a humble brag. I'm not trying to make a hashtag. When I say all my friends are geniuses, it's because they say shit like that to me. They're geniuses. It's just what it is. I I didn't make it that way. I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by motherfuckers this bright who are willing to shine any light in my direction and make me look like I'm smart. That's uh fooled you. So yeah, that conversation meant quite a lot to me. Please do be here next week. I'm going to be here with three super smarties. Of course, two of the three are black women. That's just how I roll. That's how we do it here at Smoke and Mirrors. Speaking of black women, hey, listen, if you've got an extra doubloon in your pantaloon, do me a favor, reach in there, pull it out, and throw it into the bucket of the Marsha P. Johnson Foundation. These are some folks who are working on arts, who are working on creativity, who are working on culture and culture making within the queer, black, and trans communities. I know you heard that, so I'm just going to clear it out. She is legend. She is inspiration. She is goals. And you can donate at marshap.org/donate. If you need to find out more about that, shame on you, but maybe you could join the J. Cole reading group and learn a little about her. Um, hey, if anything that I said is at all controversial and you just don't want to hear it, that's fine. That's good. You don't have to. You could witness me silently at IG. I'm over there on the grams in the Zuckerberg world because he owns everything, and that's at El Caballo Negrito. You could see me at Twitter making words, making word art, making word animal balloons, writing at Caballo Negrito. There's no L on that. If you do have a complaint, as ever and always, please do send that to at Real Donald Trump. If you have anything you'd like to contribute, please send that to Smoke and Mirrors CCB at Gmail. And if you would like to contribute to the program and what we're doing here and the things we're trying to make and build in the community we're trying to create, prophylactic though it may be, I think it's very meaningful. If it means something to you too, hey, there's ways to contribute. One of those is to share this. Put it on your page. Start a watch party. Tell a friend. Tell any of the many people that I seem to end up talking shit about. They can hate post on it. That'd be nice. And share it. Share it widely. We call that passing the J around here. Or you can drop 5 on it just one time. Don't become a patron. You can do that at Venmo at Carlos-Wyndham, like the jazz album in the Slave Traders of Alabama. Uh, you can do that at PayPal me dot CK Wyndham, or you can do that at Cash App $ CK Wyndham. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I know it's been a slightly longer one, but you know what? Uh, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Meant something to me. I hope it means something to you. Take care of each other, okay? Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. And you know what? I love you. All right. I'll be here tomorrow talking shit. See ya. Bye.